Hey guys, Al Moranton with MOVIDA. We're excited to be here for episode 8 of MOVIDA Live. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss what is CBD. Okay, what is CBD? We're going to give a simple explanation, not a bunch of big technical terms or anything like that. But before we get started, I want to do a little story to give you an example of what it can do for people, so you get excited about it and just get more out of this presentation. Okay, so we're going to talk about Melissa and her mom. Okay, so they're two people in our community and that have had amazing results. And Melissa, she was skeptical at first. She was like, "This stuff isn't going to do anything for me. It's like a multivitamin and blah blah blah." Right? It's and she just would not take it. And she has like anxiety and a bunch of different things like that, and that go on. Depression, things like that. Um, and OC mom, teenage daughter and a son and etc. And just a lot of stress and so she tried it out, and long story short, and she was like taking it, and because and didn't she was like, oh, this isn't working, and it's like, just keep on taking it, just take it, like you're supposed to, don't stop. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Some people, they'll feel it right away. Some people it takes a few days. Okay, and so she kept on taking it, and then she sent me a message one day, and she goes, "Hey, I just was at the water park with my daughter and her friends. I was the only mom, and I was handling it, right? And then at the end of the day, when it started to turn night, the girls said, 'Hey, can we go to the amusement park across the street?' And I was like, 'Hey, yeah, let's go, no problem.' So we went over there, we're having fun, and all of a sudden I stopped and realized, like, who is this woman, right? And she was saying, like, that is not me. You know, almost 10 teenage girls and just me, and from that park to this park and no problem. That's not me. I'm stress. I'm usually a stress ball, and I want to leave and get out as soon as possible. Right. So at that moment, I knew it was working, and I was just sold, right? So she was like, she's a fitness competitor, a professional fitness competitor, and so she went on Facebook Live and she's blasting it out, just like, what is this voodoo magic and blah blah blah, really really cool stuff, right? And then so then she got her mom on it, right? She was like, mom, her mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and her mom never really could get relief. Like, she'd get a little bit of relief, but like still be in pain, just enough to function. But she had trouble holding onto water bottles and glasses, and she was just miserable all the time because she was in so much pain, right? And um, her daughter got her to take it, because she was like skeptical as well, and she took it, and she, long story short, she the swelling in her fingers, because she couldn't even straighten out her hands all the way, right? And that's the rheumatoid arthritis, where like that, and that's about as far as they can go. She was like, in 1 week, the swelling went down and the pain went away. Like, she was like able to do all this kind of stuff. And then a few months later, I was doing a presentation near where she lived, and she came down to the presentation, and she was like, "Hey, so check this out. My hands, blah blah blah. I'm not scared of holding a water bottle or a glass in public anymore. And it's slipping out of my hands. And I'm a different woman. I'm like nice to everybody now. Before I was mean because I was in so much pain. And she was like that's pretty badass, right? So that has to do with like what it could do mentally and physically, right? With the and it's really really cool. So let's get into the presentation. Hopefully you're excited about that. Because it's exciting to me. This is definitely exciting to them to be able to come off of medications and get back in the game of life. That's crazy, right? That's awesome. So let's see if I could share a screen here and share. Okay, so hopefully you guys are seeing the MOVIDA word mark logo there. And let's see here. Let's see, present to everyone. So hopefully you guys are seeing that. And let's see. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right, cool. So, what is CBD? So, CBD is a cannabinoid, right? It's one of the 100 plus cannabinoids that exist inside of the cannabis and hemp plants. So, it's one of the non psychoactive cannabinoids. THC is another cannabinoid. CBD is the one that's popular right now, but THC and CBD are basically the two most abundant cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. There are over 100 that exist that they've identified, right? So the thing that's exciting for people is that it's not psychoactive. It doesn't get you high. So that's why it's so popular right now. We're not going to get into the differences between THC and CBD in this, but just know that they're both essential nutrients. They both have good qualities. Just that the THC, it gets you high, and not everybody wants to be high, and then not everybody can be high because they get tested and stuff like that, right? So so that's basically what it is. You have cannabinoid receptors inside your body. You have these two different ones, CB1 and CB2. CB1 apparently they handle with moods and things like that. And then the CB2 are more physical kinds of things like pain, inflammation, and things like that, right? So you have these cannabinoid receptors in your head and your brain and like all over your body, like your third dermal layer down, in your skin, like this all over. That's why it works at point of contact so well, and wherever you put it. And then internally, it works on your organs and all kinds of stuff like that. So it just works all over because you have receptors all over. So that's right there. You have a endocannabinoid system inside of you, right? And it is one of the several systems in your body, just like the lymphatic system. So it needs to be fed, and it needs to be fed with these cannabinoids. You have these receptors. So the receptors are sort of like a doorway or a lock in the door in the doorway, right? And the cannabinoids, the CBD, even the THC, all kind of stuff. The CBD we're talking about right now are like the keys that unlock those doors and open up those pathways. Okay, so you have these cannabinoid receptors inside of you that are like doors or locks, and the CBD you ingest that, and those are like the keys that unlock those doors and allow things to flow properly. That's basically it. Okay. So it provides a homeostasis inside of you, which is basically like a balance. So like on a cellular level, it allows things like just to be at balance, and so you can function properly. So like organs can function properly, and inflammation can be reduced, crystallization can be broken down and flushed out, and things like that. So your body can function properly. Pain gets removed and things like that. And then it also like sort of hardwires connections inside of you. Okay. So meaning like with your brain, with anxiety and depression, things like panic attacks and stuff like that, that's like sort of like a misfiring of things, and it makes you not able to handle things the way you should. Like, so your problems become bigger than what you are, right? So this sort of helps to hardwire those connections, sort of like a frayed wire that's like sparking, and not communicating properly. When you hardwire the connection and that wire is functioning properly and you get the juice or the signal to whatever it is, then you're going to function properly, and then you could become bigger than your problems. The anxiety goes away, the depression goes away, just because you can handle things better. The problems don't go away, but your ability to handle them do. So you could actually handle and function that way. And then with the body, the hardwiring, the connections, so like numbness, tingling, even things like lupus and things like that, it's a little bit more involved, but there's this very simple explanation. Remember this, okay? But the numbness, the tingling, and all this kind of stuff, the shooting, stabbing pains from nerves and stuff like that, that's also from like a frayed wire. So like you can especially see that with the numbness and tingling, right? And then you harden up that connection, you make that connection strong again, and then the numbness, the tingling, that sparking, that goes away. And the shooting, stabbing pain that's caused from nerve damage, it goes away because those connections start to get hardwired again. So hopefully that makes sense. And that's basically what's happening inside you. There's all kinds of technical terms and like fancy ways to explain it, but that's basically the gist of what's happening. Okay, so CBD is an essential nutrient. It allows you to operate at the utmost optimal levels. And you can't function your best without it, right? That's what that means. Where it's an essential nutrient, you have the receptors inside of you. You have an endocannabinoid system. So basically, if you are like functioning really, really well, and you think like, hey, I am functioning at my optimal levels, and I don't really need anything. If you take this stuff, you'll be even better, even better. It's just like crazy because you don't know what you're missing until you could actually experience it. So because we have a lot of people like that are, hey, like I'm doing great, but I'll just take one of your like lower grade 50 milligrams or the lower milligram levels, and then they'll come back to me a month later and go, wow, like I can't believe blah blah blah, all this stuff that's going on that's beneficial that I didn't realize, I was operating, like at lower levels before, and it's really, really cool. So it's your missing link to vibrant health and mental clarity, right? You need it. It's an essential nutrient, and it's been held back from us for so long. And one of the things that's really so awesome about CBD is it's available all across the country right now, right? It's available all across the country. The THC, it's only available in certain states, and it's iffy in a lot of those states anyways, but the CBD is just like easy access, and it does so much good for you. It's really, really crazy. So let me see if I could get my screen back here. Okay, awesome, awesome. So I'll tell you one more story real quick about this my friend Grampy Pat. He's an artist and bread maker, and has to do with like people thinking that they're operating good, right? He's about 72 years old. He's a vibrant guy. Like for 72, he's just like, he's out having fun. Does his little craft beers on the weekends, and but he eats, fairly healthy, and just has a good life over there in Orange County, California. And he's like, hey, my friends are doing so well off of your stuff, and my brother and my sons and everybody's doing so well on your stuff. I don't have anything wrong with me, but I'm going to take it just for the hell of it. What's going to hurt? I'll do a 15 milligram in the morning, a 15 milligram at night, just like you say, and well, let's see what happens, right? And about I'd say about a month in, I go to the farmer's market where he has his little stand at, right? And I'm going to pick up my artisan bread, and I see paramedics, and I was like, oh wow, I hope that's not for Pat, and sure enough, it was for Pat. And it was like, oh shit, what happened? So I saw him the next week, and he told me like hey, last week they took me to the hospital because a couple of years ago I had a heart attack, and I felt lightheaded last Saturday, so they didn't want to take a chance, so they called the paramedics. And we'll get back to that in a second, what you just said. But when he was at the emergency room, the doctors actually determined that his he was feeling lightheaded because he was on blood pressure medication, and his blood pressure is actually normal now, and the blood pressure medication took his blood pressure too low, so he felt lightheaded. So he went to the doctor that following week, and the doctor took him off both his blood pressure medications. Okay, so fast forward about, I'd say 2 or 3 months, and I'm at the farmer's market, and Pat sees me and he's like, "Hey, Al, come over here." And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And he's like, "Hey, I just went to the doctor and he did some tests on me, and he took me off both my arthritis medications." He goes, "So off of 2 blood pressure medications from a few months ago, and now off of 2 arthritis medications, just from taking 115 milligram in the morning, 150 milligram at night, changing nothing else. I still drink my beer. I still, do my stuff, and I don't know what else to tell you." And that's badass, right? That's crazy. So he thought he was operating optimally. I didn't really need anything, blah, blah, blah. So that just has to do with the mindset that people have. Like we put up with way too much. We are light beings that could function so well. We just put up with functioning like shit, basically, right? Like, he had a heart attack 2 years earlier. He's on 2 arthritis medications and 2 blood pressure medications, and he says, "Oh, I'm fine." He thinks he's fine because his other friends are on not 4 but like 11 medications, right? It's funny because he's 72. It's nuts. It's nuts. The way we're conditioned to think that we have to be on medications, and that our bodies don't function well and stuff like that. We can function bad ass if we take in the proper nutrition. Okay, so that's just hopefully you could see that CBD is an essential nutrient. It's just one essential nutrient too. We need to do a variety of things. It's not just cannabis. It's not just CBD. There's other nutrients that we could have, or supplementation we can do, and eating well, moving correctly, all that kind of stuff. But this is about CBD, what it is, and hopefully you understand that it is beneficial for you. Okay, again, Al Morenton with MOVIDA. Thank you and have a beautiful day. Peace.